Good morning and Boker Tov. May it be a day we hear Besoros Tovos, good news and good tidings for the Jewish people. May the hostages come home. May the soldiers return to their families with a sweeping victory. A big thank you, as always, to our Parsha series sponsors, Becky and Avi Katz and family in memory of David Grossman, the Nishmas David Ben Menachem Manish, and the Shama Shadav and Aliyah. Also want to dedicate our shir this morning. Yesterday was my grandmother's yahrzeit, Ruth Aboff, Yanto Rocha Bas Shmuel, my beloved dear grandmother, whom I loved and learned so much from. Her neshama should have an aliyah as well. We have the privilege this morning of learning Parshas Bamidbar, beginning the fourth book of the Torah, page 726 in the Art Scroll Stone Chumash. Please note, no shir next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is Erev Shavuos. There is a Parsha next Shabbos. We get 1 day between Shavuos and Shabbos to prepare, but we will not be learning it together. So learn it on your own. You're not exempt from learning the Parsha, but there is no Parsha shir next Tuesday. Page 726. Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Bamidbar Sinai ba'ol moed be'echad lachodesh hashani b'shana hashani l'tzeisam me'eretz Mitzrayim le'mor. Hashem spoke to Moshe, and here we're given the climate, the environment, the topography. He spoke to him dafka specifically Bamidbar, in the desert, as if we care. We care what he said. Why do we care where he said it? What matters is what was communicated, what was transmitted. Why does it matter where it was said, what the geography, what the topography, what the climate, whether it was in the desert, whether it was in a different area? Why does that matter? And what was the message? What did he tell Moshe? It's time for a census. It's time for accounting. This is the third one. Hashem, even though he knows the number, he's omnipotent, he's infinite, he's perfect, he doesn't need to count in order to arrive at a result, at a number. Rashi here tells us, when you love something, you count it. You count it over and over and over again out of a sense of love. People count and collect all kinds of things. I read an article, people collect baseball cards, people collect snow globes, people collect magnets, people collect stamps, money. People try to collect money, and they love to count the money. But I read somebody owns 20,000 pencils. Somebody owns 272 unopened Star Wars Lego sets. And the Guinness World Record holder for the biggest and most valuable collection of celebrity hair. Someone else has over 1,000 Slinkies, but someone has packets of sugar and sweetener from around the world. That's got to be a Jew from Pesach programs. The list could go on and on. But I'd say the winner that I saw on a list of people who collect things is Christopher Kraukauer, who owns a collection of 30,000 banana labels. Among them, the rare and coveted Chiquita sticker from 1960. Who cares? I don't know. People collect all kinds of things. And what people collect and what they count and what they cherish says everything about them. So what does Hashem love? Mitochi basam lefanav monos and kosher. Rashi, the very beginning of our Parsha, the very beginning of this fourth book of the Torah, tells us Hashem's love, his incredible affection for the Jewish people. He counts us over and over again. He counted us when we left Egypt. He wanted to know how many we were. Remember, it's important because so many stayed back in Egypt. He counted us again after the plague of Chet HaEgel, after the Jewish people had infidelity. We cheated on Hashem on our wedding night with the golden calf. He counted us again. And now the Mishkan is built, it's inaugurated, and here again, God counts the Jewish people. People count what they love. Some count their children and grandchildren. Some count their bank accounts and stock portfolio. Others will count their childhood and the memories, because especially if they're fleeting. Rav Nachman of Breslov explains the Medrash is telling us here something so important, which is that there is nothing more beloved to Hashem than Am Yisrael, Klal Yisrael. Do you know how empowering that is? Do you know how incredible it is for us to know that there's nothing he loves more in his whole world, in the whole universe, in the cosmos, and all of creation? There's nothing more significant and nothing he loves more than us. He counts us over and over again. We've learned this, we've studied this, we're not going to review because we talked about it in the past. A name and a number, they seem to contradict. A name and a number, what is the correlation, the connection between the two? But we have to recognize that every person is a special gift. Everyone is a unique expression of Hashem in this world. We're a beloved child of Hashem. We're each indispensable. We're each irreplaceable. We don't just blend together into some blur, but each individually, singularly, uniquely, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Almighty, loves us. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, in his Sichos Aran, the Heilige Rebbe, Rabbi Nachman, teaches a skula for success in Torah learning. A skula. Everybody wants skulas. Skulas are quick fixes. You don't have to do the hard work. Skula for parnasa, and skula for good health, and skula for peace in the home, shalom bayis. So what's a skula for success in Torah learning? You want to have an intellectual breakthrough. You want to learn and study and remember your Torah? Here's his suggestion. It's in Sichas Haran, Siman Sadi Aleph. Something we can do to help us learn with great diligence, to understand Torah better, to retain the information we learn. Skula, he says, is don't speak negatively of any fellow Jew. Avoid negative speech of a fellow Jew. Don't be judgmental. Don't speak negatively. Recognize how precious every Jew is. Rabbi Nachman explains this concept based on the tradition that we all have. We know the Zohar HaKadosh says there are 600,000 letters in the Torah. We've shared this many times. Doesn't exactly add up. We have half that amount. 304,805 letters. How do you get to 600,000? It's for another time. The Heilige Megala Amukas, Rav Nosson the Spira, Parshas V'Eschanan writes, there are 600,000 letters in the Torah that correspond to a letter for every Jew, and that Yisrael, the Jewish people, Yisrael is an acronym for Yesh Shishim Ribo Osios V'Torah. There are 600,000 letters in the Torah, a letter for everyone's name. Everyone has a place in the Torah. Everybody has their Torah. Everyone has their contribution. Everyone has their voice. Everyone has their impact. Everyone has their influence. Says the Heilige Rabbi Nachman of Breslov. If we speak negatively about a fellow Jew, we are in effect erasing their letter from the Torah. If you speak negatively, critically, judgmentally, if you marginalize or dismiss a fellow Jew, you are erasing their letter. And what happens to a Torah with a letter that's erased? What happens to a Torah whose letter is blurred out, or letter blends into another, or letter is erased? What's the status of such a Torah? Puzzle. It's puzzle. Sefer Torah missing a single letter is disqualified, can't be used for Torah reading. And if we disparage a single Jew, a fellow Jew, our collective Torah is incomplete, and you can't learn properly. So you want success in Torah learning? Love every Jew. See every Jew's letter in the Torah, every Jew's contribution, every Jew's participation, every Jew's space in the Torah. Menachem Nendel of Vokra once got up in front of a shul on Shabbos before Shavuos, and he asked the following. The Shabbos before Pesach is called Shabbos HaGadol. That wasn't such a hard question. Shabbos before, it's hard for me. I have to prepare it. You just come listen to it. Sit in these comfortable chairs and try to stay awake. Shabbos before Pesach is called Shabbos HaGadol. Shabbos before Yom Kippur is called Shabbos Shuvah. What's the name of the Shabbos before Shavuos? Said Rav Menachem Mendel of Vokra, the answer is it's called Shabbos Derech Eretz. Why is it called Shabbos Derech Eretz? Because Chazal, our rabbis, tell us that Derech Eretz Kadma LaTorah. Derech Eretz, the way we treat one another, interpersonal relationships, precedes Torah. Before we could receive the Torah, we had to learn how to love a fellow Jew. We had to commit to practicing and living with Derech Eretz, common courtesy and kindness. So therefore, if there's a Shabbos HaGadol and Shabbos Shuvah, the Shabbos before Shavuos, this Shabbos is called Shabbos Derech Eretz. Derech Eretz is Kadma LaTorah. And the Medrash, the Kotzker Rebbe, explains, what does it mean, Kadma LaTorah? It means Derech Eretz is the Hakdama to Torah. Kadma becomes Milashon Hakdama. What's a Hakdama? An introduction, a forward, a preface. The introduction to a book tells you what's in the book. More often than not, I skip the introduction because I'm about to read the book. I don't need you to tell me what's in the book. I'll just read the book. What is the Hakdama? The introduction tells you what's in the book. So what's the introduction to Torah? Derech Eretz is Kadma LaTorah. The introduction, before you could open and start studying, before you could learn and live Torah, the introduction is Derech Eretz. The Mishnah in Pirkei Avos says, the main Torah ain't Derech Eretz. If there's no Torah, there's no Derech Eretz. Without Derech Eretz, there can't be Torah. Listen to what Rabbeinu Yonah writes on those words. It says Rabbeinu Yonah, 12th century Spain. First, you have to become a vessel to receive Torah. How are you a vessel to receive Torah? First, you have to work on and improve your midos, your interpersonal skills, your character. Torah cannot reside. Torah cannot be lived. Torah cannot be promoted. Torah cannot be proclaimed through someone who doesn't have a proper character. If you're cruel, you're unkind, you're obnoxious, you're rude, you're discourteous, doesn't matter how much Torah knowledge you have, you're not a vessel for Torah, you're not a ben Torah, you're not a bas Torah. Lo sheyilmad Torah v'achar yikach lo hamidos, ki zeh efshar. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, first you have to improve the character traits, and then the Torah can endure within such a person. First you can't learn Torah and then acquire good character traits. First you have to have good character traits, and then you could acquire Torah. Which is why, what have we been doing? Counting up and building towards Kabbalah SaTorah, counting Sfiras HaOmer. 49 days of self-improvement, 49 days of working on ourselves, more patience, more generosity, more positivity, more love, more humility, less anger, less envy. We're working on our midos. Why? Because this Shabbos is Shabbos Derech Eretz. Derech Eretz is Kadma, the introduction to Torah, the Hakdama to Torah is Derech Eretz. A young man got engaged. He went to the Tzaddik of Yerushalayim, Rav Aryeh Levin Zatzal. He said, I came to get advice. I'm engaged. I'm going to get married. Please, can I have some advice? So the young man expecting that the tzaddik, Rav Aryeh Levin, was going to tell him, learn this sefer, or always bring this Dvar Torah to the table. But you know what Rav Aryeh Levin told him? He said, always make sure to put your socks in the hamper. Don't leave them on the floor next to the hamper. It's not respectful to your wife. Someone else has to bend down and pick them up and put them in the hamper. Always put them. That was the message. Simple. Derech Eretz, Kadma Torah. Everyone expects some highfalutin, some righteous, some noble, some virtuous, some complicated. Just put your socks in the hamper. Just put the cover on the toothpaste. Just be a mensch. Be a mensch. It's the Hakdama. It is the introduction to all of Torah. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves us, and He counts us, each and every one of us. Each and every one of us are a letter in the Torah. And when we honor each of the letters in the Torah, we have a kosher Torah. And if we speak negatively, or we lack derech eretz, or rude, or inconsiderate, or we dismiss any Jew, we've erased their letter from Torah, and our collective entire Torah is disqualified. It's incomplete. It's puzzle. It's not a good Torah. All of that is number one. Number two, in honor of the Rosh Hashiva. The Ger Rosh Hashiva is in America right now. He was in New York, and now he's in Chicago. So in his wonderful Sefer Vidadasha, he says the following. Shaul Alter Shlita. Chumash Bamidbar, Shekorim Bekviyas Lefnei Matan Torah, Nikra Gimel Shemos. This third book of the Torah is given three names. Ha'olam Korim Lo Bamidbar. The world calls this, the book, they call it Bamidbar. Open any Chumash and you'll find the third book of Torah is called Bamidbar. Harishonim v'Hakadmonim Kinuhu Vayedaber. Rashi Sota Daf Lamed Vav, Bereshis Rabbah. You find that it was called the book of Vayedaber, speaking. Why? That's the opening word of the whole book. Vayedaber Shema Moshe B'Midbar Sinai, Vayedaber. Koloshim Chazal, our rabbis had a third name for the book. They called it Sefer Chumash HaPikudim. Yumadaf Samaches Sota Daf Lamed Vav. So our book has three separate titles, three different names. Either Bamidbar, Vayedaber, or Sefer HaPikudim. What does Pikudim mean? The counting, the book of counting, because it begins with a census, it begins with counting. So Rav Shaul Alter, the Ger Rosh Hashiva, explains with a story. The Chabina Rav was in Siberia during the war. Kibal Mechtav Me'arebbe HaKadosh Midelzer Reb Aaron Kadosh. He got a letter from the Belzer Rebbe. I guess the mail was delivered even to the Jews of Siberia when they were incarcerated in Siberia. And in his letter, the Belzer Rebbe sent them one pasuk, a pasuk of Tehillim. Kol Hashem Yachil Midbar, Yachil Hashem Midbar Kodesh. And the Shabiner understood that Kavanah Leperish Sar Salami Belz, the Belzer Rebbe was telling him, Hamidaber Miyachal Mitzape, Sheyizke Lishmoa Kol Hashem. B'makom Shamim, Shemei Olam Lo Hashem Yeshuv Yehudi. A Jew's job is, when they find themselves in a place absent God, in a desolate desert, speak godliness, introduce spirituality, plant the flag of Torah of Hashem. V'lo amr sham davar shal kedusha bracha tefila uTorah yachil Hashem midbar kodesh kiviyachal kodesh baruch hu mechake shehamidbar yiskadesh. Hashem is waiting. A Jew is never stuck. A Jew is wherever they're meant to be, and wherever we find ourselves, particularly if it's a place that's barren, that's desolate, a place that's a desert of spirituality, of Torah, of sanctity, get to work. Your job is to plant the seeds of Torah there. And that's why, so in other words, he was giving him, the Belzer Rebbe was giving the Chabiner chizuk. You're in Siberia, what am I doing here? Why am I here? Woe is me. How can I learn? How can I make a difference? Know that a Jew is where they're meant to be. There's a reason you're there. And based on this pasuk, transform this midbar. Plant, let it blossom, let it come to life with spirituality, with nitotsos, with the sparks of kedusha, of holiness. Don't view yourself as stuck, as a victim. View yourself as you're there for a reason. And therefore, elevate that experience. Elevate it. We told the story recently in the Living with Emunah Shir about a group of Lubavitch Rebbetzins who were in England for a conference, and their flights got canceled, and they were panicked because their husbands could only go so long watching all those children. What was going to happen? They needed to get home. So they called the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and they spoke to his secretary, and they said, please tell the Rebbe, we're stuck in London. You should daven for us, you should give us a bracha, help us get a flight, help us get out, help us get home. We're stuck in London. And the Rebbe sent back one message. A Jew is never stuck. You are where you're meant to be. Get to work. You not yet leaving London because your work there is not done. Learn and inspire and develop relationships. If you were meant to leave, you'd be gone. If you're still there, it's not because you're stuck. It's where you're meant to be. A Jew should say, wherever I am, there's a purpose, there's a reason, there's a mission. How do I transform this midbar, this desert? How do I make it come to life? And he grew great chizuk. And he realized, I'm not stuck. And I'm not muted here. This is a place that I should come to life and speak the word of Hashem. And Hashem especially loves, Hashem especially cherishes when a Jew who's in a place where it's unpopular, where it's difficult and complicated, where there's never been words of Torah, says, I'm going to introduce Torah in this place, in this spot. So this book is called the book of Vayadaber. Start speaking. Start speaking. Speak words of Torah. Speak words of faith. Speak words of godliness. Don't be muted. Don't be silenced. Don't be defensive. Our mission, our mandate as a people, Am Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, is to introduce the world to godliness, to faith in Hashem, to Derech Eretz, that's Kadma Torah, to Vayadaber. This is who we are, what we're about. But we give it a different name. We don't call it Vayadaber generally. We call it Bamidbar. Because we're remembering the beauty of the Jewish people. They followed Hashem out. Where? Into a midbar, into a desert. And this is what Yirmiyahu Navi says. We sing it. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. I will spare you. Ko Amar Hashem. Zacharti lach chesed ne'urayach. Avas kululosayach. Lechtech acharai bamidbar. Ba'eretz lo zarua. Wow. Hashem says, I remember your chesed. I remember. Avas kululosayach, like a kala. There was a love and a romance, an infatuation. How did I know it? How did I see it? How did you demonstrate it? Lechtech acharai bamidbar. Because you followed me out. We got married, and you said, I'm in wherever you want to go. We'll go to a midbar. We'll go to a midbar. There aren't 1,700 kosher restaurants and 400 schools to choose from, and there's not the most mohuder eruv, and there's not the brand new, most beautiful spa like mikvah, but you want to go because there's a different sauce to make? I'm in. We'll go to the midbar. We'll go to the midbar. Chevra, what we're supposed to remember as we read Parshas Bamidbar. We always read Parshas Bamidbar right before what? The holiday of Shavuos. Why? Because this story is not a part of our past. We are not nostalgically remembering and patting ourselves in the back that our ancestors followed God out into a barren desert, but rather we are living it right now. We are recreating it right now. We are committing to it once again right now. Irish also Zman Shitzias Mitzrayim. Kodesh Baruch Hu Zoches Yila Arz V'lo Zerua. L'Zakos Avar B'nei Yisrael L'chol Adoros. Aval Be'emes is as nisht. I'm not going to read the Yiddish because some of you don't understand. Ein Zu Uzdam Neschad Pa Mishai Sarak B'yamim Avru It's in the hand of every Jew to give Hashem this nachas. Each of us could show Hashem that same love, that same affection, that same willingness. Sometimes our midbar is not where we live geographically. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Boca, still, the greatest compliment you could give us is that we're still out of town. People think out of town is an insult. It's the greatest compliment. Baruch Hashem. But we have every kind of restaurant you could want. And you have every amenity Jewishly that you could want. Every week I get another text or email about the newest school that's opening in our community. Good, bad, I don't know, it doesn't make a difference. It's happening anyway. But every amenity that you could want. But you know what? In a personal life, even if you're living in a blossoming, not a midbar, but in our personal lives, sometimes there are moments of midbar. In a doctor's office, waiting room, when you're waiting to take a fertility test, when you're not sure where the parnasa is going to come from, when there's a loneliness and a person's looking for the bashert, when a person's checking the news all night long, what's happening, these fires in the north of Israel, when will these hostages finally come home? There are midbar moments, desert moments, where it feels barren and desolate and alone and hopeless and despair. We say, Hashem, I'm in. I'm following you even into those places, even into those spots. Even when I don't know where the nourishment's going to come from, even when I don't see the fountain, even when I don't have an oasis, I'm following you. I'm following you into that midbar, in the midbar moments in our lives. And that's what we say in Hallel, Yakar B'nei Hashem, Hamavsa Lachasidav. Lefamim ha'adamu b'chinas meis. Person sometimes feels dead. Ha'adam meduchtach v'yard b'nei atzmo. Be'mesibos chitzonios, be'mesibos pnimios. Sometimes there are external causes that make us feel it's hopeless and helpless, despair, desert. And sometimes it's internal. We feel empty. We're struggling emotionally and mentally in our health. Kashim begashmias u'beruchnias. Sometimes it's a physical desert, and sometimes it's an emotional, spiritual, or mental desert. Ein magish tam b'avodas Hashem. Sometimes it feels like I'm in a desert. It's bland. It's tasteless. There's nothing. I'm parched. I'm in a midbar. But tefillah v'kasha alav lima Torah. I'm struggling to learn. Umargish meruchak me Hashem. And I feel far away. I'm in a desert and I'm parched. But because of Omer Yakar Be'inei Hashem, Masha B'nei Yisrael Chasidav, Ovdim Oso Yisborach Gam Kasha, Shebechozos Mizgabrim Mizamtim Lavadas Hashem Lulmodul Ispalel, Be'ez Kazoshi Hamavsa Lachasidav, even Hamavsa, even when we're in a place of Mavis, even when we feel dead, we're dead inside. That's how someone describes it. Someone going through a hard time will say, I feel dead inside. I feel dead inside. But even when a Jew feels dead inside, they're dedicated. Hashem, I'm following you. I'm walking after you. I believe in you. Hashem says, Zacharti la chesed ni'urayich. And that is Bamidbar. So we have Vayidaber. Vayidaber is wherever a Jew is, they're never stuck. Start speaking, teaching, inspiring, sharing, planting the seeds of Torah, and make the desert bloom. That's Vayidaber. Bamidbar, wherever a Jew is, even Hamav Salah Chasidav, even when a Jew feels I'm dead inside, I'm in a desert, it's barren, it's desolate, there's no way out, I'm parched, I'm dry, I'm desperate, still, Lech Techachar Bamidbar Hashem, I'm all in, and I'm following you nonetheless. And the third answer, Hashem Ashlishi, I'm just trying to summarize, because he goes on, it's a long piece, Chumash HaPikudim, Pikudim in Milashon Nifkad Pikudei, the Tefer Shlomo ala Pasuk Tifkudu Osam L'Tzivosam, Atava Aaron. The Radomsker says, why did Moshe and Aaron need to be the ones to count? Anybody could have counted. Counting is a very simple activity, right? My grandson can count in 4 languages. Unbelievable. Spanish, Yiddish, English, and Hebrew. Unbelievable. And he's 4 years old. 3 years old, 4 years old. Less than 5 years old. So anyone can count. A 5-year-old, a 4-year-old can count. You need Moshe and Aaron to be able to count? Moshe and Aaron. This was a different counting. This was a counting of Suez Rosh Pnei Yisrael. A census, anyone who wants to make minimum wage can knock on your door and fill out a form and take a census. But if you want to not just be a number, If you want to feel counted, I count, I matter, I make a difference. I'm not invisible. I'm consequential, not inconsequential. I matter. Who will make you matter more than the Gedolei Hador saying, you count, you matter, you mean something, you're a letter in the Torah. They had to appear dafka before Moshe and Aaron. In every holy Jew is a richness. Dafka needed the power of Moshe and Aaron. And that is something that continues in all the generations, to feel that we are the progeny, the children, the students, the disciples of Moshe and Aaron, that we matter, that we count, that we pass before them. It gives us a chashivas. Listen to Chidush Arim. He quotes his great Zayda, the Chidush Arim. Kodesh Baruch Hu says we have to count. Kadesh Yehu. What's the pasuk? Kodesh Baruch Hu says count leminyan. Why? Because by counting us, we become a davar shebeminyan. Davar shebeminyan ain't a batal. You know, we have a principle in halacha, in Jewish law, called bittul. A drop of milk falls into your chicken soup. Is it kosher? Yes. It depends. Depends on the ratio, the proportion. If it's less than a 60th, then the milk is nullified in the soup. The milk is as if it's not there. Soup is kosher. If it's more than a 60th, now your soup has become basa b'chal of meat and milk. It's treif. It's no good. It's not kosher. If it's less than a 60th, it's kosher. Should you eat it? Let's say you decide, I want to be stringent. I want to be strict. I want my kids to get the best shidduchim, so I want a reputation for being the strictest person around. So I'm going to give that chicken soup to the help. I'll give that chicken soup to the mailman, the non-Jewish person. I'm not going to eat it, even if it's less than a 60th. Is that righteous? Is that noble? No. Why? Pischei tshuva in Yoredeya. Pischei tshuva writes in Yoredeya, because don't be firmer than God. God said milk and meat is forbidden. God said less than a 60th it's permissible. If you nonetheless don't eat it, are you really worshiping God or are you worshiping yourself? Don't be more religious than God. So the Pischei Tshuva says there is nothing virtuous about not eating it. You should eat it because you should show that you're serving Hashem, not yourself. And Pesha also Pesha Sheter, he's the one who said it's no good. He's the one who says it is good. Now what happens if a non-kosher egg gets mixed into a dozen eggs? Then do you say it's batal? What if it gets mixed into 100 eggs, 1,000 eggs? The answer is never nullified. Why? Because we have a principle. Davar shebeminyan in a batal. Something that is counted, that is sold in a count like a dozen eggs, something that is counted by the number, you never apply bittul. They never apply nullification. So once the Jewish people became counted, ain't a batal. By Hashem counting us and making us a davar shebeminyan, no matter how outnumbered we are by the other nations of the world, ain't a batal. Davar shebeminyan afil be'elef lo batal. Hurak midirabanan. Anyway, on and on he has from the Chidush Harim. Very, very beautiful idea from the Rosh Hashiva, from the Shaul Alter. The Zera Kadosh. We're going to get past the first pasuk. Say every week. We will. I don't know how far past, but we're going to get past. The Zera Kodesh, the Rav Shitza says, Vaydaber Hashem Moshe Bamidbar Sinai. Now we get to the topography, the geography. Why do we care where this was said? This message to count the Jewish people, this command was given where? Bamidbar, in the desert. Zera Kodesh says, Kodesh Baruch Hu Chavitz Laharos LaYisrael Godel Koach HaTorah Shemashpelas Atzman L'chol Echad Ve'echad. Because Hashem wants us to realize that the Torah is not in some ivory tower. The Torah is not reserved only for the brightest and the best, the most brilliant. It's given to each and every person. Hashem, the Torah was given specifically where? In a desert. A desert doesn't have all the bells and whistles. A desert doesn't have all the amenities. A desert is not a 5-star resort. It's a place of drought, starvation, dangerous animals. It is the lowliest place in the world. A desert, a desolate, barren desert is the lowliest, emptiest place on earth. And dafka b'makom zeh nasan Torah v'gila shchinasa ba'ol moed. Because the Torah is given to and accessible to everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, what your lineage, what your background, what your Jewish education, where your starting point is. Doesn't matter how far you're fallen or what life you're living. The Torah is available to you. The Torah is the birthright and the heritage of every Jew. The 5-star Jew and the desert desolate Jew. Ein shem nafkamina. There is no nafkamina. In kol ze gam ish ze yachol lilmod Torah ki la Torah ein nafkamina im hishorish b'makam chashav lo gadol akatan b'chol makam tuchal Torah lishros. Torah can reside. Torah can be transmitted. Torah can be learned wherever you are. You can't. I need to be in the yeshiva. The right air conditioning. The bench has to have just the right amount of padding. I need the right chavrusa. I need the new sefer. I need everything to be right. No. The Torah can follow, is available and accessible wherever you are, and to each person wherever they are. Don't get stuck and say, you know what I looked at night all night on the internet? I'm going to learn Torah the next morning. Do you know how much Lashon Hara I speak? I'm going to learn Torah. Do you know how much I struggle to dive into Hashem? My Emunah, I'm going to learn Torah. Do you know how limited my background is? I can't make sense. I don't know if to hold the book this way or hold the book this way. I can't make sense of these words. I can't read these letters. I'm going to learn Torah. A Yid, a Jew, should never say that about themselves. No matter who we are, where we're from, no matter our background, no matter our level, no matter our starting point, no matter what we did all night long, the Torah was given in a desert. And even if we are and feel like a desert, the Torah is there for us. Just get started. Just get started. Open a book. Make a chavrusa, attend the shir, challenge yourself. Just get started and have your own personal Kabbalah Torah. Azay Zak the Zera Kodesh, the Rapshitzer. The Noam Elimelech, all quoted by the Yamar Torah, the Rachma Shrifka. The Noam Elimelech says, Midbar Sinai is an allusion to something else. What is the prerequisite to receiving Torah? A person has to be like Midbar Sinai. Midbar, a desert. Nobody's arrogant in the desert. Everybody's just fighting to survive. There's no room for arrogance in the desert. Nobody swells with pride. Look at my Hummer. Look at my canteen. Look at my... Everyone's just trying to survive. A desert is a place that humbles everybody. Sinai was the lowest of all the mountains, the most humble of all the mountains. Merames la'anava shiflos v'achna shakrish baruch hu bachar b'har Sinai yosem mikol harim kevin shu nomach mikulam. You can't plant anything. Nothing takes root in a desert. A desert and Har Sinai, what they have in common is humility. Said that and that's why the Torah is given. The Midbar Sinai, that's why we care. We care about the topography and the geography because there is an embedded message. And the message is, if you want to receive the Torah next Tuesday night, if you want to be standing at the mountain next week, Shavuos, then you better work on getting humble between now and then. God doesn't give His Torah to arrogant people. You know why? You're not interested. You're not going to learn. You have nothing to learn. You're going to hear what Torah has to tell you. The arrogant person has all the answers. The arrogant person has a monopoly on the truth. The prerequisite to receiving Torah is hard reset, reboot, delete. I want you to tell me, Hashem. I want to download your message. I want to absorb and hear what you have to say. I want to read your blueprint and your instruction manual for the world. If you have all the answers, if you're arrogant, if you think you have monopoly on the truth, you're not a candidate to receive the Torah. And that's why the Torah was given Bamidbar Sinai ba'ol moed. L'lamed adam hachavitz l'schos b'kabbalas Torah tzarich lahaktin atzmo lioshafa be'einav v'achno v'anava kesinai u'kamidbar. Be like a desert. Be humble. Be humble. Be humble. Lios tamid muchna gadol v'nivze be'einav. Person has to be humble in order to be a candidate to receive the Torah. Now, what's the problem? Continues Rav Elimelech. The problem is that if you're now so humble, you say, I'm just like a desert. Ich bin garnished. I'm a nothing. I'm a nobody. So I'm going to learn Torah? I'm a desert. I'm a barren, desolate, hopeless, helpless, pathetic, lowly desert. I'm going to learn Torah? If a person is so humble that they feel so inadequate and so unworthy, then they're never even going to start. So how does the pasuk continue? B'midbar Sinai, Oel moed. Oel moed. Oel, Romez al Simcha, Miloshin Or Yahel. Moed, Uloshin Yontav, Shu Yom Simcha. L'Ramez, Tzarech L'Schazek L'Hachnes Bekirba Simcha, Afa Pishu B'Achna. Humility shouldn't lead to sadness. Being humble shouldn't make you sad. Being humble should make you happy and joyous. I'm not competing. I'm not trying to keep up. I'm not comparing. It's not about my kavod. Humility. Being humble should bring joy. I'm humble and I'm happy, and now I want to learn. I want to soak it up. I want to download everything Hashem has to teach me. So therefore, that's the connection. Bamidbar Sinai, be'oel mo'ed. That's the connection. The Bas Ayin, one more. The Bas Ayin on this pasuk brings from the Chaim HaKadosh. Lama bodas hamakom hiktam hamakom haklali sha'amidbar hamakom haprat shu ol moed. We should have given the specific place, the ol moed, and then the general place, the desert. And yet, when it came to time, we said in the first day of the second month, and then we say the second year. So, which is it? Do we give the general then the specific, or the specific then the general? There's a contradiction between the location and the time. When it comes to the location, first we give the general, then the specific. When it comes to the time, first we give the specific, and then the general. Says the Bas Ayin, Ikra b'shorosh avoda inyan emuna b'bitachon, b'tach b'Hashem v'asei tov. The whole purpose of the ikr, the core, and the root of serving Hashem is to believe in Him, is to have a relationship with Him, is to speak to Him and hear Him speaking to you, is to feel His presence. But a person is so distracted, and a person is so overwhelmed, and a person is so confused by the need to earn parnasa. So a person mistakenly thinks that they're the one who earned. They're the one who earned. So what does the Torah say? Chazal say, Lo nitna Torah ella la'ochlei haman. The Torah was only given to those who eat the man. What does it mean, eat the man? If you didn't eat I didn't eat the man, you ate the man? So we're not candidates to receive the Torah? Ochlei haman doesn't mean literally ate the man that fell from heaven. It means the attitude. That all that we eat, all that we have, all that we buy, all that we serve, it's all like the man, it descends from Shamayim, from Hashem. To live with a sense of bitachon. Lech techacharei bamidbar be'eretz lo zerua. To follow Hashem and to say, Hashem, I'm going into a midbar. I don't know where my next deal is coming from, my next paycheck is coming from, but you know what? I trust you. I love you. I surrender to you. I take my initiative. I do my ishtadlus, but after that, I let go and let God. You can't live with holiness unless you live with faith, with a relationship with Hashem. And that's what we're getting at. When we left Lamidbar, we left with Emunah and Bitachon. Lechtech acharei Bamidbar. And through that we got to the Ol Moed. By going through an attitude of Bitachon and Emunah, through a Midbar, we arrived at the Ol Moed. And then we say, Be'echad l'chodesh hasheni, in the second month the moon began to fall. B'shana hashenis. Let's say some Eretz Mitzrayim. That's how we leave Egypt. We leave that place of superstition. We leave that place of Egypt when we trust and we have faith. We apply all that we've learned in this relationship with Hashem. Perek Aleph, Pasuk Nun Gimel. I told you we'd get past the first Pasuk. Then we have the census of the Jewish people. And the census ends, top of page 732. V'chanu b'nei Yisrael isha machaneo v'isha diglo l'tzivosam. The Jewish people encamped according to their logo, their emblem, their insignia, according to the way that they were commanded. Halaviyim yachanu saviv l'mishkan ha'edus v'lo yeh ketzef al adas b'nei Yisrael. And the Levim should encamp around the Mishkan, around the Ol Moed, so that Hashem will not get angry. V'shamru Levim es mishmeresh Mishkan ha'edus, and Levim will safeguard the watch of the Mishkan ha'edus. What's going on here? In his introduction to Sefer Bamidbar, the Ramban writes that Sefer Bamidbar revolves exclusively around the mitzvos that Bnei Yisrael were commanded at that specific time, and the miracles that were performed with them. This was in order to relate all the acts that Hashem performed wondrously for them. The Ramban writes that Sefer Bamidbar is not really a book of mitzvos. Vayikra, we had a ton of mitzvos. Dvarim, we're going to have a ton of mitzvos. Bamidbar is about stories of Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, divine intervention. The miracles Hashem did for us. Now, there are specific mitzvos in Bamidbar as well. There are mitzvos there as well, but that's not the purpose. and that's not the theme. The theme of Bamidbar is Hashgacha Pratis. Stories of Hashem, of divine providence. It's what the Kuzari is referring to when he writes that there was a certain godliness that descended on the Jewish people, the Shechina that dwell with the divine presence. What does that mean, the divine presence? So Wolbe, in his introduction to Shiri Chumash on Parshas Bamidbar, Wolbe says that Hashgacha Pratis, divine providence, divine presence, the feeling that Hashem is intensely among us, is twofold. It manifests internally, the revelations a person has in their heart. You feel it. Say, Hashem, I feel your love, your support. I feel a purpose and mission. Hashem, I feel you. But that requires that a person be certain beyond a shadow of a doubt that Hashem is there. And additionally, it manifests in Hashgacha Pratis, not the internal feeling and awareness and consciousness and conversation with Hashem, but the external, this thing happened in this way. That was an incredible display of Hashgacha Pratis, which in Sefer Bamidbar was expressed by, according to the Ramban, all the wondrous things that Hashem did for us. These two aspects of Hashgacha are independent. Hashgacha Pratis works in accordance with the revelation in the person's heart. If the situation is such that the revelation in the heart is firm and his believing is unwavering, then Hashgacha Pratis will also be overt. But if the revelation in his heart is more hidden, then Hashgacha Pratis will also be hidden. The Rambam also writes, Hashgacha, the divine providence, the divine intervention, the divine interference that we merit to get from Hashem, is directly proportional to how much faith and trust we have in Him. No different than any other relationship. If your children ask you for advice and reach out to you and are grateful to you and welcome your presence in their life, you lean in and you want to give more and more generously and be more present. If they say, butt out, mind your business, don't need you, don't want you, you say, no problem. I'll take my resources and my wisdom and my life experience and I'll share it elsewhere. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the same. The more we lean in, the more invested, the more grateful, the more we ask for help, the more He responds. The less and the more we think arrogantly we could do it on our own, the less present He is. This thread of Hashgacha Pratis runs throughout the entire Parsha. And this pasuk we just read, what does it mean? The Leviim are tasked with encamping around the Mishkan, and the Torah warns, V'lo yaketzef al das b'nei Yisrael. Let God not get angry at the Jewish people. Why would He get angry? So Rashi here says, Zok Rashi, Lo yaketzef, in tasu kemitzvosai lo yaketzef, v'im lav she'achnisu zorim ba'avodasam zu yaketzef. If they do their job, Hashem won't get angry. But if they fail in their job, if they don't do the work they're entrusted to do, then Hashem is going to get angry. This pasuk, says Rav Wolbe, can be understood in light of Chazal's statement. Chazal say, even a foreman's appointment is ordained from Shamayim, from heaven. Wherever we are and whatever we're tasked to do, whatever we're appointed to do, none of it is coincidental, nothing is random, nothing is chance. It all comes from Hashem. So a person should think carefully before dismissing himself or herself from a position of authority, because the very fact that they were appointed to such a position is Hashgacha Pratis. When the rabbi approaches you and says, will you chair this committee? Will you work on this event? Will you take on this responsibility? Says Rav Wolbe, be very careful before you say no. Because the very fact that you've been identified and asked to speak at a siyum is Hashgacha Pratis. Is Hashem deciding this is your job, this is what you're meant to do. And just like here, Lo yaketzef al das b'nei Yisrael. If you turn down the task that you were asked to do, if you don't show up for your mission, because this world is not a place that we take from, we're not takers, we're givers. Life is not about rights and entitlements, it's about duties and obligations. It's about if I woke up this morning, what am I meant to do, who am I meant to be, what difference am I meant to make? Rav Wolbe related that when he was first a child, when his first child was born, Rav Wolbe says when his first child was born, it brought to mind the pasuk in Tehillim, Ma enosh kisses karenu, uven adam kisif gedenu. What is a person that you should remember him, and a man that you should be mindful of him? David HaMelech says to Hashem, what are we? In the end of the day, who are we and what are we that you should remember us or be mindful of us? Kisif gedenu. Rav Wolbe translated kisif gedenu as that you entrusted him with a deposit. If you're learning the daf right now, Bab Metzia, you're learning about the Dalet Shomrim, the 4 types of guards. Shomer Chinam, Shomer Sachar, Shaul, and Socher. 4 types of people who are responsible for guarding property. And the Gemara's language is, if I give you something to watch, what's that called? That which I entrusted you to watch is called a pikadon. You're a shomer, but the object that you're entrusted to guard is a pikadon. It's a deposit. It's a deposit. Rav Wolbe Taicht, he translated, Uven Adam Kisif Kedenu, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us a child, it's a pikadon. He's given us a deposit, and we are the shomer. A person becomes a parent, he should feel Hashem has given him a deposit, and he must care for in any situation that arises for the rest of his life. The pinnacle of Hashgacha Pratis is being entrusted with a child. It elevates a person to a place that they are a partner with Hashem. If I give a shomer something to watch, I'm trusting him. They are entrusted with this pikadon. When Hashem, something we should not take for granted at all. When Hashem, not a given, and we shouldn't take it for granted. And we daven for those who are waiting and longing. When Hashem enables someone to conceive, He's given the greatest vote of confidence in them. He's saying, I'm inviting you to be my partner. I'm giving you this deposit. I'm making you a shomer. Ma Adam kisif kedenu. Why should you be worthy to get this pikadon? When we make the bracha Mechen mitzadei gaver, who prepares the footsteps of man, says Rav Wolbe, we should bear in mind that wherever we may find ourselves, it was Hashgacha Pratis that put us there. Hamechin mitzadei gaver. Wherever we find ourselves, our footsteps, Hashgacha, Hashem, put us there. Like those women in London. A Yid, a Jew, is never stuck. We're never stuck. Like the Chabiner Rav in Siberia, is what the Bells of the Sar Shalom was telling him, was, you're in the Midbar, that's where you want. Kol Hashem Bamidbar. Hashem wants you to speak to Kol Hashem. Where Amechin mitzadei gaver. Hashem prepares our footsteps wherever we go, wherever we are. It's not coincidental. It's not random or chance. It's all from above. It's all designed from Hashem. Perek Beis Pasuk Yud Zayin. The 4 formations. The Torah is now giving us the encampments and the 4 directions. And it wasn't coincidental. Each tribe, where they were designated and where they were meant to be, their coordinates. Perek Beis, chapter 2, Pasuk Yud Zayin, 17. V'nasa ol moed machan elavim b'soch ha'machanos, kasher yachanu ken yisau, ish al yado l'dig lehem. Ish al yado l'dig nehem. Pasuk says, V'nasa ol moed machaneh ha'levim. Perek Beis, Pasuk Yud Zayin. 17. The tent of meeting, the camp of the Levium, should journey where? In the middle of the camps. The Levium, where was their place, their designation? Their coordinates was B'soch ha'machanos, in the center. In the center. On this, the Chafetz Chaim writes, Chafetz Chaim al Torah, Mikevan she'atorah munachas ba'aron she'ba'ol moed. Where is Torah housed? The luchos, the broken and the complete tablets, and the original Sefer Torah were all contained where? In the Aron, in the Ark. And where was the Ark? In the Ol Moed. Tzarech Ol Moed lios tamid b'soch ha'machanos. Torah has to be in the middle of all the camps. Be'emtza. Lo karov b'yosa la'echad v'lo rachak b'yosa ha'sheni. Why does it have to be in the middle? Because no tribe can claim Torah's closer to me. I've got the truth of Torah. There's 12 Shvatim, there are 12 tribes. There's Chasidus, there's Litvish, there's Ashkenaz, there's Sfardim, there's all types of Chasidim, there's all types of Litvish. Nobody can claim, I've got the Torah closer to my machane. The Torah that's in my camp, that's the real Torah. You've got the counterfeit, you're wrong, you're distorted, you're perverted. Where's the Torah? B'soch hamachanos. Right in the middle. Everyone equal access. There's different traditions we have. There are 12 tribes, but it goes right in the middle. Kamosha Abima be'emtza beis haKnesses. Just like the bima is right in the middle of the shul. Kamosha Eitz HaChaim ha'inatu b'soch hagan. Just like the Eitz HaChaim was right, the tree of life was right in the middle of Gan Eden. V'gam HaTorah Eitz Chaim. The Torah is our tree of life. V'hakol tzrichen lesrachez misviva v'hi b'soch. Everyone has to surround it, and the Torah is right inside. Right inside, and right inside all of us. A very powerful image that the Chafetz Chaim is giving us. That Shevet Levi traveled in the center of the camp, and the Torah was right in the center of their tribe, so that Torah and the Aron would be the coordinates right in the middle of everything. Like the Eitz HaChaim was the middle of Gan Eden. The Mishkan, which is Torah, is the center point around which life revolves. It is the central point of our lives. Not having the biggest house or the nicest car, certainly not getting into any Ivy League, which would be insane to ever go to. That's not the aspiration of a Jew. The centerpiece of our life, the focus of our life, is the Torah. That's why it's in the center. It says the Chafetz Chaim, it's not closer to this one or that one. It's not in this machana or that machana. It doesn't belong to this tribe or that tribe. It goes right in the middle, equally accessible, equally owned, equally the birthright of all. Perek Gimel, Pasuk Aleph, page 736. Ve'ela told us Aaron and Moshe b'yom diber Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai. These are the offspring of Aaron and Moshe on the day that Hashem spoke with Moshe on Har Sinai. Says Rabbi Soloveitchik, going to the Rav Soloveitchik Chumash. We are all acquainted with the Akedah that Avram. This is a very powerful Rav. Listen to this. We never think of it in this way. Incredibly powerful and incredibly important. We're all acquainted with the Akedah. If I say the word Akedah, who in our history made the ultimate sacrifice or was prepared to make the ultimate sacrifice of giving his son? What would you answer? Avram Avinu. Avram. But we do not pay sufficient attention to an Akedah that was carried out by Moshe. Moshe's Akedah was perhaps more awesome and terrifying than Avram. After Avram offered Yitzchak, the two of them returned to Har Moriah with great happiness. But Moshe never experienced this satisfaction. In his case, the Ribbon Shalom requested and received his sacrifice. The simple right to leave a last will and testament to die in one's own bed surrounded by his own children was denied to Moshe. Moshe died alone on a mountain. Before he died, he did not lay his hands on Gershom or Eliezer, his sons, but rather on Yehoshua. Moshe's power was bestowed on Yehoshua and not on his own progeny. More tragic still was the fact that Moshe's children do not appear in the book of Jewish genealogy. Right now, when we're tracing the children of Moshe, you don't find his biological children's names. Moshe twice counted Klal Yisrael and counted the tribe of Levi. Initially, the Torah says, these are the descendants of Aaron and Moshe on the day that Hashem spoke to Moshe at Har Sinai. Torah should have listed the generations of Moshe, his own children, along with the generations of Aaron. Yet, the subsequent psukim ignore Moshe entirely and center around Aaron alone. The Torah is silent. Where are Moshe's children? Where are the generations of Moshe? Torah doesn't tell us. Moshe did not merit the normal satisfaction of flesh and blood, to be reborn through a child, to live again through the child, to feel the great joy that upon his own death his progeny will remain. Moshe had two children, and of course he loved them both, the same way that Avram loved Yitzchak. The Creator asked both Avram and Moshe to give up their children, to sacrifice them on the altar. Unlike Avram, no angel called to Moshe, don't stretch out your hand. The knife mercilessly tore apart the relationship between Moshe, Gershom, and Eliezer. In the book of Shoftim, Moshe's son Gershom was not designated as Ben Moshe, but Ben Menachem, because Moshe's children no longer belonged to him. For the receiver of the Torah, for the teacher of Klal Yisrael, it's prohibited to have a connection to one's family. He's the father of Israel. Every Jew has an equal share in him. It is prohibited for one individual to have a closer relationship than anyone else. Moshe's Torah must be inherited equally by all. The Torah is analogized to a desert in the sense that it is free to all for the taking. The receiver of the Torah, in the sense, Moshe, is also a desert, belonging to everyone. The burning bush, Hashem told Moshe, take off your shoes off your feet, cast off any private matters, your human personal needs, because your place in the history of Jewish people is filled with sanctity and purity. It is prohibited for you to involve yourself in private family life. Wow. What an insight of the Rav. Avram, we know the way the story ends, so we celebrate. He walks back together with Yitzchak. He survived. Wow. Moshe ultimately ends up sacrificing his children. The Akedah of Moshe. And the evidence is right here in this census. We don't associate his children with him. They are not listed as his progeny. Aaron's children, all of us, everyone that he bequeathed and taught the Torah to, we become his children. That is an incredible, incredible, incredible image of the price that Moshe pays. The price that Moshe pays. Rashi quotes based on the Gemara Sanhedrin Yutes, Eina masker el b'nei Aaron. The children of Aaron are called, told us Moshe. Why? Shalim dan Torah. Moshe taught Torah. And kol ha'melamed is ben chaver Torah ma'alav ha'kasav kilu yoldo. And we learn from here that anyone who teaches children to someone else, it is as if they gave birth to them. And we spoke in the past, we quoted from the Shla, and we quoted from Poskim, Shlomo Kluger and others, that one can fulfill the mitzvah pru revu. Someone who doesn't have biological children of their own, by teaching Torah, supporting Jewish education, sponsoring yeshivas, growing Jewish community, they fulfill the mitzvah to have children. Why? What's the purpose of the mitzvah pru revu to have children? The purpose of having children is continuing the Jewish mission and purpose. If a person can't biologically do it, but they can support and enable it, they can teach Torah to others, literally or by supporting it, they have had children. The Shla Kadosh says, Ki'ilu yoldo v'lo yoldo mamash, adraba hu yoldo ba'atzmo. You're giving birth. Parents, biological parents, they bring a child physically into this world. But the Rebbe who teaches him Torah, the parents can be the same, by the way. It's not either or. Parents can both physically birth a child and spiritually birth a child. That's the ideal. But those who spiritually birth the child are also birthing a child. Yitzchak Achanan Spector in his Hakdamah to a Sefer Ein Yitzchak quotes from Chazal: Halafros larav achmecha, ein rav al harav ben divrei Torah, hinei yamim ba'im v'shlachti rav ba'aretz, mikan amram yesh adam shu mevin divrei Torah, yifarnes misarasa gamken kidei shetizrabach chachmasa lo, mosifan lo alav. Teaching Torah, quenching the thirst of a Jew, outreach, inspiring others, supporting outreach, supporting Jewish communities, supporting Jewish continuity, supporting yeshivas and kolim, supporting shuls and Torah learning, you're giving birth to children. Torah is meant not only to be learned, Torah is meant to be taught. Torah is meant to be taught. Torah is not ours alone. We learn Torah to position us to give birth through teaching that Torah to other people. You know, on the recent fly-in, every year, Chevra, we fly into New York, we meet with Rosh Yeshiva and Rebbes and communal leaders. We met with the Rosh Yeshiva, Rebbe Radinsky, Rebbe Tzala Radinsky, Shlita. Big time Chacham in Muncie, the great Rebbe Radinsky. So when we met with him, we talked about, he's mamish, unbelievable Talmid Chacham. Unbelievable super genius. He said, how do you do it? How do you learn Torah in such a way that you remember it? That you remember it the way that you do? So he told us, he quoted from Rav Ovadia Yosef. Rav Ovadia said, Rav Ovadia also was a super genius. Rav Ovadia had maybe a photographic memory, but he worked diligently to learn too. It wasn't just the gift that he got from birth that he relied upon, he worked tirelessly. So Rav Ovadia said, how did he merit to remember so much Torah? Because every time he learned something, he learned it with the intent to share it. I'm learning something that I'm going to share, I'm going to teach, I'm going to give over to somebody else. I'm not acquiring something only to myself. So when you learn something only for yourself, it's a Torah's Yachid. You've turned the Torah into an individual, a personal, a selfish Torah. But even when you're first learning something, you say, I heard a great vort. I can't wait to say this at my Shabbos table. I can't wait to go home and tell this to my spouse. I can't wait to tell this to my grandchildren when they call me to wish me a good Shabbos. I'm listening and I'm learning with the intent to begin with that it's not my own a Torah's Yachid, it's a Torah's Rabbim, it's a Torah's Haklal. I'm going to share it with others. You know, the Gra says, Birchas HaTorah, the bracha that we say on Torah, the Birchas HaTorah, you don't say on hear her Torah. If you're only thinking, you don't say a Birchas HaTorah. Only when you speak it, when you say it, or if you write it, that's what obligates you to say a Birchas HaTorah. But if you're thinking Torah, you're not obligated in a Birchas HaTorah. And then the Tziv explains why. Why do you only make the bracha when you're going to speak or write the Torah? Because the bracha of Lasok B'divrei Torah is L'lamed. It's a learning which includes that you're going to teach. The whole essence of learning Torah is not to keep it to yourself. The whole essence of learning Torah is a learning to share, to teach, to give birth, to inspire, to elevate, to enrich, to empower. If a person learns on their own, it's a very self-centered Torah. It's a Torah's Yachid. Like the Pasuk says, it should be a Torah's Chesed. Torah's Chesed al-Lashana. Torah she'ena shel Chesed. If you keep it to yourself, it's a Torah that's not of Chesed. But if Rav Rudinsky said, this was his advice to us. Everything you learn, if you want to remember it, the best way to acquire it and make it your own and really remember it is to learn it with the original intent. When you're first learning it, the kavanah is, I'm not learning this from me. I'm learning this in a way, in a manner, I'm going to share. I'm going to give it over to others. And through that, to give birth to others. To give birth to others. To have hundreds or thousands of children all over the world. If you're in a position to teach Torah, the greatest blessing on the planet. Wow, what a bracha to teach Torah. But if you could sponsor, this is not a solicitation. The global campaign is over. But I'm telling you, not for me, although we'll be happy to take it. I'm telling you for you, for us, that if we can sponsor Torah learning, sponsor a shir, sponsor a series, sponsor a yeshiva, sponsor a program, sponsor a shul, sponsor and enable and empower more people to learn Torah, you're populating the Jewish world. You're creating Jewish continuity. And if a person wants a skula, a person is davening for their own children, for grandchildren, davening for others they know to have children, you can help them have children, give birth to children by supporting Torah learning. That's what Yitzchak Khan is saying. That's what we say. That's what we learn. Eila told us, Aaron and Moshe, Kol Melamed ben Chaver Torah, Ki L'Yolda, we should be zocha to have many of our own children and many spiritual children. May we hear Besoros Tovos, Yeshuos, Vinachamos.